Stay frosty and head over to EasyMut.com for the cheapest MUT coins on the market. And when I say cheapest, I mean it. We're talking 1 million coins for around 40 bucks. Use code DIRECTOR for 5% off. Yo, what up, brothers? It's the Director. Chargers fans, what a week we have had. The NFL draft, a beautiful success for the Los Angeles Chargers, led by Rashawn Slater and Asante Samuel Jr. The Chargers getting praise from every beat writer there is out there for the NFL. The Chargers did very, very, very well. But I do feel that one thing that the Chargers are also really good at that may go under the radar is our undrafted free agent signings. The Chargers, of course, have signed some of the best undrafted free agents as far back as time. With Antonio Gates, of course, blowing the minds of every Chargers fan out there. Of course, a future Hall of Famer. And then we've got guys like Austin Eckler, who are most recent that have made the roster. Nay, excelled as a starter on this team, earning extensions, etc., etc. So I think the Chargers might be due for another one. New coach Brandon Staley coming in. Brand new vision. He got the guys he wanted in the draft, and maybe, just maybe, there is a diamond in the rough to be found with our undrafted free agents. So we're going to go over all the new undrafted free agents that the Chargers did sign about 5 days ago that could make the roster. We're going to try and grade them to the best of our ability. I'm going to be honest, guys, a lot of these guys super tough to find anything on, so I'm going to give it my best shot and at least get you guys familiar with some of the new names that could be on the roster come the 2021 season. Now, before we do get into business, I got a reminder for y'all that you should be excited about. We're giving away a couple jerseys, dude. Some of my favorite players of all time. This one, our number 56, Sean Merriman, signed, is for my members as a gesture of thanks for all the things that you guys do in continual support of this channel. It really does mean a lot. And if you guys aren't a member of the channel, do not worry. I've got another jersey right here for you fellas that are subscribed and continue to support in watching these videos and hitting those likes and really getting us in the eyes of more Chargers fans. Signed, Kellen Winslow of the Air Coryell days is up for grabs. If you guys want to enter for the Sean Merriman jersey, be a member of my crew. That's all you got to do. And then for the Kellen Winslow jersey, there is a link in the description. Fill that out. Very, very simple to enter. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Only subs can win. Guys, thank you so much for your support. I'm really hoping these go to a good home. We've had a lot of fun with giveaways in the past on this channel. And with that, let's get into this one. Before we do, hit us up with a like and sub to be entered for the jersey and to continue supporting this channel. The short amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into this one. Lights, camera, action. Grading the new Chargers undrafted free agent signings. Are we going to find another Antonio Gates or Austin Eckler, or maybe some solid depth on this roster, including special teams help? We're going to jump right into this one. This is not going to be the highest viewed video. This is for you guys, these OG fans, these dudes that really want to know everything about the Chargers. We're out here trying to give an impression of these players to you specific fan base. So let's get into this one. Ben Deluca, defensive back out of Charlotte. I think he played safety for majority of his career. What I was able to find is that he is the record holder in tackles, fumbles, pass breakups, etc. as a 4-year starter at Charlotte. I may remind you. Now, a lot of these guys, dudes, you got to remember, not every player is going to make the roster. We're just trying to, pick through some of the signings that may have a shot at making the team due to their contributions, maybe on the practice squad, special teams, even as depth. And I will be giving a letter grade after every guy. So we got Ben Deluca here. He could be a very interesting guy that might work his way onto the final roster. I'm going to give this a C+. I see him more as maybe a special teams contributor or practice squad guy. So I think there's potential there, but you really never know. Next up, a guy that honestly I'm kind of excited to see compete for a starting position. Not even a starting position, maybe a depth position on this team. And Jared Goldwater out of Louisville. 6'6",
defensive lineman, uses his length very, very well. And honestly, I saw him as more of a disruptor in the middle of the field. I think he's pretty solid. And again, with this Chargers new defense, Coach Brandon Staley, etc., he's going to want as many, fresh bodies on the defensive line as possible. Of course, using that new Eagle front that I'm excited to see utilized for the Bolts. For this guy, I'm going to give him an A. I think I'm very excited. I think that kind of size, he really does fit what the NFL is looking for right now. And he could be a developmental kind of depth piece nose tackle for the Chargers. We're all kind of hoping, for maybe some higher names, Aleem McNeil, Tyler Shelvin in the draft. But honestly, getting a guy like this after the fact, I think he would have been considered, let's say, like a 9th round pick if it did extend that far. It's not a bad signing as far as undrafted free agents. So not too bad for me. I'm going to give it an A. Again, he fits a lot of what the NFL is looking for, and he does have potential. I have to wait and see how he does in camp. Next up, we've got another tight end. Of course, the Chargers parting ways with Hunter Henry this last offseason. They're looking for another tight end. Hunter, right? Hunter Camp Moyer is the next guy we're looking at. We got a guy from Oregon. There's a lot of Chargers fans hoping that we would get a guy from Oregon. Of course, the cleanest jerseys in collegiate football. And he could be interesting. I think there's some fans of Oregon that are going to say, oh, director, this guy was amazing. I can't wait to see him compete for a spot on the team. And I do agree there are some things about his game that I do like. He's got very decent hands, but I do think he lacks blocking and size. I think he's something like 6'4", and the Chargers at this point I think have a couple really nice vertical threats. Jared Cook and Chicken Parm. I think we're pretty well covered in that department. And I think the Chargers kind of proved that in signing Trey McKitty with a pretty high pick last week. And I think Trey McKitty's going to see a lot of playing time this year. Hunter Camp Moyer, he could compete for maybe special teams, practice squad kind of thing. But I think the Chargers, as far as tight end right now, really do have their bases covered. I think they want to see what Camp Moyer has to offer and maybe hoping he makes the roster. But I would see him more as a special teams, practice squad kind of guy. So I'm going to give this signing a C. Again, very limited resources on finding out more about these guys, but you can never hate a guy coming out of Oregon to come play with this guy Justin Herbert. Next up, a signing that I think is going to go under the radar, but I think should not, is Alex Kessman out of Pittsburgh. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a few kickers on this roster right now. Competitive kickers, I say, is one of the best things that you can do in trying to find your guy of the future. A lot of guys may be talking about, oh, director, we should be drafting a guy in the 5th or 6th round. Kicker has been such a weak spot for the Chargers for a long time. And I would say most of the time, at least that I've been a fan, it's really hard to find a kicker in the top 7 rounds, right? Like, it's still going to be a hit or miss from wherever you get these kickers. What I like to see an NFL team do when they've got kicker problems is bring in some competition and just kind of take a shot. And that's what the Chargers are doing with Alex Kessman, who converted 12 out of 18 kicks of 50 yards or longer with his career in Pitts. That's pretty good, man. I like that. That brings a lot of upside to longer field goals, longer conversions. And honestly, I think that brings in some excellent competition for Michael Badgley and Tristan Vizcaino, who's also on the roster as of right now. And honestly, you bring those 3 guys into the building, you see who's got, the better upside, who might be able to help the team immediately. I think Alex Kessman has as good a shot as anybody to be the starting kicker for the Chargers in the 2021 season. So I'm going to label him as a potential starter as an undrafted free agent, as well as adding really good competition for the kicker position. So I'm going to give this signing an A, man. You can never go wrong with grabbing a guy who's got leg, who's really good at converting from very long distances, and honestly just bringing in some competition for that kicker position that does need a lot of help on the Chargers roster right now. Next up, the Chargers did sign this man right here, Darius Harper. Let's see, out of Cincinnati. Now, honestly, guys, when it comes to offensive linemen, a lot of us get a little sketchy when it's an undrafted guy or a guy that's not picked even in the top 3 rounds. Like, we don't want this guy anywhere near Justin Herbert's, blindside. But I do think that Darius Harper does offer some things that NFL teams look for, especially in size and strength. 6'7", very, very strong, decent in the run game. And honestly, when it comes to an offensive line, you want to bring in a bunch of people, see who's going to work out as far as depth. You never know what's going to happen, guys. In the season, people go down all the time. The Chargers, terrible luck when it comes to injuries. And honestly, I kind of like what I'm seeing out of Darius Harper. He's got the size, he's got the strength, and I think he could definitely compete for a depth roster spot on this team. And maybe you can develop him into more of a swing tackle, but I think the Chargers do have a lot of their bases covered in that department. But that might as well bring in Harper, see what he's got. So I'm going to give that a grade of a B. Definitely not a bad thing to have too many offensive linemen on the team. Next up, I think we got this guy in here, Ryan Langen out of Georgia Southern, and honestly not too bad. Again, he's going to be more of a long snapper, competing for the long snapper position with Meza. Honestly, he's maybe a little bit undersized, 6'1". I see him again more as a practice squad guy, maybe depth if he does make the roster. But still, it's an offensive lineman, long snapper. You want to maybe get somebody in there to compete with Meza. I can't hate on it too much. It's a C+ signing for me. Next up, defensive lineman Forrest Merrill out of Arkansas State. We'll take a look at this guy right here. Honestly, wasn't able to find too much on this cat. 6'1", 320 pounds. You could be talking practice squad. You could be talking depth. For me, though, out of the limited kind of gameplay I've been able to see out of him, he looks okay. To me, more of a practice squad, maybe depth if he's lucky kind of guy. I'm going to give it a grade of a C, okay? Because we want to move into the next name. I'm sure you guys are coming in here to hear me mispronounce. We got our linebacker out of Oklahoma State in Ogbongbemiga. Oh, God. I was sitting in front of the mirror for like 15 minutes, like Ogbongbemiga. Director, don't mispronounce this one. This is going to be the one that maybe actually, honestly, this guy, again, if there was more than 7 rounds, I think he might have been an 8th round pick. I think he's got a lot of upside, especially on special teams. This guy's a tackling machine. I think he's definitely had a pretty nice career on special teams throughout his collegiate career, and I think he's got a really good upside for the Chargers in that department. You really want to add some quality players to the special teams unit that the Chargers have been struggling with for a long time. And honestly, you kind of speak with your draft picks. You kind of speak with your signings. And the Chargers, they wanted to fix that offensive line. They wanted to fix the defensive backs with, cornerbacks, Asante Samuel Jr. And they wanted to put a lot of emphasis on the special teams as well. And I think Amon, I think he might have been the first player that they claimed off of undrafted free agents. I think that does speak to what their plans are as well. So he could be a developmental outside linebacker. Not great in coverage. Maybe not great as far as a pass rusher, but he might have some upside as a depth guy. But I do see him as a special teams upside kind of guy as well. I think he can make an immediate impact on that front. And for that, I'm going to give Amon Ogbongbemiga an A signing for the Chargers as far as undrafted free agents. I think it's pretty solid. Next up, we got another tackle coming in here in Kyle Spalding out of San Diego State. And again, you can never have too many offensive linemen to compete for depth or special whatever, man. I like seeing big boys competing for a spot on the Chargers. 6'6" tackle, another great depth piece to compete for a roster spot. This is what I like to see. The Chargers were not done trying to rebuild this offensive line. They said, you know what, we got our starters. We went from worst to first, and now we're looking to make sure that depth is rock solid. And Kyle Spalding's another kind of guy in that direction for me. So I'm going to give this a grade of a B+. Just kind of throwing that out there. It's got the size. I think he's got the upside as well. And lastly, another guy that honestly I'm kind of excited to see compete, especially for special teams, snaps. I'm going to take a look at this guy right here, man. Elijah Stove out of Auburn, shifty, special teams returner. And just like, I kind of see him in the same light as an Alex Kessman, the kicker out of Pittsburgh. I kind of see him in the same light there as, maybe he's not the best of the best, but I want to bring in competition. I want to see guys compete for those special teams, contributions. And I think Elijah Stove could definitely be a year 1 contributor as a returner on special teams. And honestly, when you're on a depth chart, with guys like Seth Williams, we had, of course, Anthony Schwartz, one of my guys this year. He still was able to put up some production in Auburn. And again, he brings something to the table that the Chargers do really, really need. So I'm going to give that one a grade of an A. I like Elijah Stove. I like his upside and specifically what he can do for this team this season. So overall, the Chargers undrafted free agents. This is more a get to know your new guys kind of video. I'm going to give this a grade of a B+. For whatever that's worth. Not a lot of us know what's going on as far as the upside with these guys. You really never know who's going to turn out to be the next Antonio Gates, Austin Eckler. But for me, for the kind of needs that the Chargers had, and then bringing in guys that really fit the mold as far as depth, special teams, practice squad, I really liked what they did as far as undrafted free agents. And honestly, it's proven to be a focus of the team this offseason. And we've really taken a lot of weaknesses and turned them into strengths, guys. So very excited to see how these guys pan out. As far as how many these guys are going to make the final roster, I'm going to guess 3 or 4. 3 or 4 of these guys I think could make the final roster for the Chargers. Guys that I'd point out like Elijah Stove. Kessman has the best shot, I think, out of anybody. Ogbongbemiga, I think, definitely has the strongest potential out of this signings here. And you never know really who's going to stand out in camp. It could be more also. Just remember that last season during COVID, I think they did give you more players that you were allowed to sign for your practice squad than they'd have in the past, due to the unforeseen circumstances. Do they do that again this year? I don't know. If they do, more of these players could at least make the practice squad to contribute for the Chargers on that front. So with that, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. If you did enjoy, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. We got more videos coming this week, and super excited to talk about the potential of an Aaron Rodgers maybe coming to the AFC West and what the Chargers might need to do to prepare for that. Hold the door. Hold the door. It could get crazy in the AFC West if Aaron Rodgers decides to pick up and come out here. So that's going to do it for today's video, guys. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining me. This has been The Director. We'll see you. And as always, bolt up and stay frosty.